Again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Crook County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Wednesday, February the 5th, 2025. It's 9 o'clock a.m. We'll call this court or the commissioner meeting into session. Mike, would you do the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we'll get started with public comment. Do we have, please come forward.
Sorry.
Please.
Adam Mikulski, 3992 Northwest Hansick Lane.
You got to put it up a little closer to your talk up so they can all hear.
Testing.
There you go.
Perfect, Adam. Good job.
I won't sing a song then. So I guess a public comment would be more of a question to the county. And, this goes back to PUCs or CUPs. Sorry, I used to work for a power company, so it was PUC. Anyway, CUP. What is the county, is there a process for the county to actually follow up on what the CUP requires when they actually give a CUP, whether it's mining or something else, a big company? Or does the county rely on the citizens to actually bring forth the violations that are there? Because there's a lot of violations, could be violations, that we can't get any information on, that we don't know that they're actually violating. So do we ask the question? Do we go to the county, or do they look up what it is? And I'll use an example, and I'm going to use the CUP from the Woodward site. They talk about inspecting vehicles before they mine, any kind of equipment mining in there. They're supposed to be written, I'm pretty sure. I can't get that information, so I don't know if they were mining in water and they were dripping oil or any of those toxins in there. There's a stipulation in there for OID that they have to get permission from OID or whatever to use the water for that. I can't get that information. I know I've talked to OID about other things, and they're not too warm and friendly about sharing any of that stuff because they don't want to get involved in that. So there's a few things in there that actually we can't. How does anybody know, including the county, if they're violating it? Because we have found a lot of things, we've reported it and all that, but there's stuff that we can't get any information on. So I guess, I know we talked a few months ago when Will was in the position in his position, and we talked about having a process, or the county needs to do a process, but has that been worked on? Is it going to be worked on? And what's the future for that?
Well, and my thing, I think we need to divert that to our community director, which is now, I guess, John, you get the title today. So John Eisler can answer that question probably best for you.
You can hear me right. It depends on what aspect they're talking about. Some aspects of the condition of the CUPs, there's reports that are to be filed that has some of that information with stuff like the tags on the vehicles. That's something that Lewis can reach out and ask them about, or I can reach out and ask them about. Have been in pretty frequent contact with Knife River, meeting with Lewis on this particular one this week to go over we have some recent complaints we're going to go over and review how to respond. But we can't be everywhere around the county at all times, so we can't make sure that the truck is tagged every time. We do rely on citizen complaints for a lot of this stuff, but there's a process in the CUP either through reports or through communication to get that information.
So I had a recent conversation with Greg from DEQ, and I wanted to kind of along your lines, because again, a lot of that's at the state level, that they're the ones that take the complaints and deal with these different things. And so I was kind of, I've heard there's been a lot of complaints, I've gotten a lot of emails. I appreciate those emails. There's a lot of pictures and different things. We passed that all on to him. I said, so what do these things stack up for, you know, are there issues going on or not? And he said, well, everything we've seen so far are not state violations. And so I asked him to put together a list of what is a state violation and what isn't a state violation. And I as soon as he gets that to me, I'm going to send it out to all the people that emailed in so people will know when they're watching the situation, what to look for and kind of at least a laundry list if they can put it together of what those things are that will have the ability to move the needle. And I thought that would be something helpful. It would be something I would want if I lived out there.
So I guess what's the county violations? And I guess that's what I'm getting to right there. The CUP is actually if they're violated, that's what the county, everybody's got their own job, the state,
Sure.
Dogami, DEQ, and the county. So my point more is, what is the county ready to do? Because you can put out any CUP you want, but if there's no follow-up and no inspections, even Dogami in the state, we asked them to inspect the site. They still haven't done it. And some of the stuff that they require, we need to go to them, but they kind of just slough us up. Dogami is a hard agency to even work with.
Sure.
A DEQ is a little bit better, but it goes back to the county because we can keep doing these. We deal with Woodward right now, but there's a veneer property that's in the future. And if they can't follow what we're doing there, what are we going to do with them? Or is it back to the neighbors? And you know what? It's getting really old for the neighbors to keep doing it. If the county allows it, there should be a process. And I understand you guys you only have one person and whatever, but we need the communication back to what's happening and what the county needs to do or is willing to do or not. So we just give up and.
I understand your concern, Adam. As I said a minute ago, I'm meeting with Lewis this week to go over every single complaint that we've gotten in the past week or two, and we're going to be forming a response. And so just things don't happen overnight, but they're going to happen pretty short time scale. So I'm back in 2 weeks, I guess, and then we can talk about this again.
Perfect. Karen, and what?
Karen Mikulski at 3992 Northwest DeHanslick Lane, Prineville. What Adam's talking about, there's an example here that'd be really good. In the 2015 CUP for the Woodward site, number 15, it says the applicant shall submit a dust management plan to and obtain the required permits from the appropriate state agency, in parentheses, is Department of Geology and Mineral Industries and/or Department of Environmental Quality. Was a copy ever provided to the county? It is listed on here and it says shall, not can, it says shall. So to me, if it's in the CUP and it's stated shall that they have to get it, did they provide the county with a copy? Do you know it all, John?
I wasn't here in 2015. I don't know if they supplied it at the time. We do have their DEQ and their Dogami permits. We have all that information. And so I can't speak right now. I can go back on the record, I guess, and see if in 2015
Yeah.
we did submit that document.
That would be great because if we call Dogami and ask for this, they are not gonna, they don't even want to talk to us. When they dewatered and they weren't supposed to, they didn't want to talk to me. So this is what Adam is saying. Yeah, we can police some of this stuff, so to speak, and it's on here. But we don't have those departments don't want to talk to us. So we have to go through you, I guess, to get a copy. Or maybe there is a copy. It would be helpful. Thanks.
When that CUP came through, wasn't there a checklist? Will, I'm going to throw this back on you, but I think this was more Ann Buyer at the time. Wasn't there a checklist where they checked off and wouldn't that have been provided? I wasn't on planning at the time when that went through, but wouldn't they have had to have checked that off at that time? Wouldn't that have been included in that file before it went forward? That was my assumption as a planning commissioner.
It depends on how the conditions are drafted or prepared and included in the decision. For certain CUPs, there will be certain preconditions that need to be met before next phases can occur. I don't recall how this one was worded off the top of my head, but we can certainly look in the file and see what was provided or not provided.
I know you're very, very frustrated. I mirror your frustration. but you are the eyes that are across the street. So don't ever think that what you give us back is not important, because we take everything you say, everything Ashley's, all of you very, very seriously. I wish there was a way to get the wheels with a little WD-40 and get them going a little faster, but we aren't not taking this seriously.
No, and I'm not accusing the
Yeah.
county of doing it. But-
I get it. And quite frankly, a lot of your planning decisions, we sit up here as commissioners and we put in all these conditions, but a lot of them down the line become complaint driven. And I want to admire you guys, because this last week I've gotten a lot of compliance reports from you, and I want you to know we're taking them seriously. We're passing them on. We're trying to do the best that we can with what we've got to work with. I wish sometimes that we had a little bit of more cooperation on the way up there.
Thank you. And I want to make a comment. It's really tough to see John without a suit on.
So,
Comment.
so would you like us to make that a requirement of his new
Is
job?
is that a conditional use of his job?
Turns on my ties.
Yeah, we can monitor that conditional use permit very well if we need to.
It doesn't have to be Armani, just a suit.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Joseph
Thank you.
Banks.
Thank you very much for coming and commenting. We appreciate it.
Any other public comment? How about online? Anyone online would like to comment? Well, seeing none, we'll move on. Consent agenda. We have one item.
No, we have two.
We have two, 1 and 2. Yes.
Yes.
Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept approve the consent agenda as presented. This was discussed last week in the work session. There's nothing surprising here, so that would be my motion.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So moved. Number 3, acknowledgement of the road department heroes. So I would like to take a moment to recognize an incident that happened the other day. And it's to recognize the heroic acts and quick thinking demonstrated by 3 outstanding employees at our road department: James Staniford, Eric Kufeld, and Roger Chapman. On January the 9th, while performing a routine patrol, these individuals encountered a situation that demanded immediate action and courage. They discovered a local resident in critical danger, pinned between 2 vehicles. Acting decisively, they worked together to alleviate the pressure on the individual, ultimately saving her life. These heroic acts occurred during freezing weather, yet James, Eric, and Roger did not hesitate to put themselves in a potentially dangerous situation to protect another member of our community. Their action underscore Crook County's values, dedication, selflessness, and commitment to the safety of our residents. On behalf of the Crook County Board of Commissioners, I want to express our deepest gratitude for their bravery and composure in this life-threatening situation. You have set an inspiring example for all of us, and your actions will not be forgotten. I also want to thank Road Superintendent Brad Haynes for leading a team that regularly demonstrates integrity and character. To James, Eric, and Roger, thank you for going above and beyond the call of duty. Let's all give them a well-deserved round of applause. Thank you. So if the 3 of you would like to come up here, we'd like to shake your hand and give you a little thing. Nope.
No first.
Okay, second Fourth item on the discussion, request for a continued support of a biannual Ocho Creek cleanup funding for landfill Tripoli tipping fees. And we have Carol.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Carol Benkowski and I live at 1883 Northwest Riverland Loop. And
Put the microphone closer, sorry.
okay, how about that? Okay. I'm here to ask for your continued support for the Ocho Creek cleanup. This cleanup happens twice a year, in the spring before irrigation season and then after irrigation season. And we try to remove the trash from the bed and bakes. And we also do a community-wide cleanup if we have enough volunteers. Last year, we were able to actually get up on the hill and clean up all the trash that's been floating down off of the lookout and making that look a lot nicer. So we are asking for $200 worth of tipping fees at the landfill. Republic Services will again donate the dumpster and the hauling of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. Your team does great work every year and we budget for this because it's well deserving. Anybody have any questions?
I just want to go out and thank you for keeping our community clean. I wish people would put trash where it belongs, but till we get that solved, thank you very, very much for doing that.
It is better, honestly. It's
People are,
yeah, there's less really awful things in the creek now than there used to be.
good to hear, good to hear. I make a motion to accept or approve the support of the biannual Ocho Creek cleanup for the Rotary and the landfill tipping fees.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the tipping fees at the landfill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
Carol.
much.
We have a request, number 5, request for donation by Kerry Foster Hall rental costs for Humane Society Casino Night.
I'm Shanda Wallace. I'm the executive director of the Humane Society of the Ocho.
Heather Ford, the manager at the Humane Society Thrift Store.
And we're here asking for donation of the Carrie Foster Hall for our casino night. This is the 6th year we've had it. As many of you know, we're building a new phase 1 to our shelter. So we're trying to save and fundraise as much as we can. If you've been our phase 1 will be done by May 1st. Now they pushed it back a little bit. It's supposed to be mid-March. They're a little bit behind, but we really need the extra room for all the community dogs and everybody that needs help. Our casino night is March 29th, Carrie Foster Hall. Texas Hold'em starts at 3. The main event starts at 6 and it's 21 and older. It's a good time. Everyone enjoys themselves there.
Great. Is Casey on the line?
I think Haley is in the back of the room here.
Hi, Haley.
So Haley.
Do you have anything to add, Haley? Great.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the fees for the Humane Society Casino Night.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the casino night for the Humane Society. Any discussion?
No.
None. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you. P6 is the CWPP presentation for final adoption. And we have Rest to Boot, and we also have Summers online.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. I have a quick presentation to share. Thank you so much for who brought that up. I can go ahead and get started. Today we are bringing forward the final draft of the 2024 Crook County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. I will be providing a brief overview of what the process looked like this year, as well as highlighting the key elements and the major changes of the CWPP. At the end of the presentation, I am hoping to ask you all for your approval of the CWPP to have a fully adopted Crook County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. If there's any questions or if I missed anything for my introduction for your notes purposes, let me know before I get started. Am I good to go?
Good to go.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, I can go on to the next slide, please. So what is a community wildfire protection plan? The CWPP is a countywide strategic assessment of the risks, hazards, mitigation, and prevention opportunities associated with wildfire in Crook County communities. It's a plan that lays out the risk of wildfire in each community and capture goals for how to reduce those risks. The first Crook County CWPP was developed in 2005. It was updated in 2014 and has now been updated in 2024. It's important to note that a CWPP is not about regulations or codes. Rather, it is simply a plan that identifies priorities for communities to reduce wildfire risk. Next slide. The CWPP represents efforts and cooperation of a wide variety of agencies that work together to improve preparedness of wildfire events while reducing those risk factors. We had involvement from 16 different agencies this year, which included those that you see listed below. The CWPP will be reviewed annually by the steering committee to review the progress and goals of each action item, and a total rewrite of the CWPP will happen every 5 years. Next slide, please. The components of the 2024 CWPP included the 10 that are listed here on the left, the executive summary and introduction, an overview of the Crook County community profile, the Crook County fire environment, a risk assessment areas and analysis process, recommendations to reduce structural ignitability, an introduction on unprotected lands and communities, an action plan and assessment strategy, a process for monitoring and the annual review update process, and appendices, which included multiple things, as most importantly, the maps. Major changes from 2014 to 2024 included an addition of the Senate Bill 762 guidance, an addition of Crook County social vulnerability, updated risk assessment areas for the 6 that have been identified, updated action items for those 6 communities, new maps, and we included some wildfire preparedness resources as well. You'll see that the action plan and the maps were highlighted there. Those were important for us to capture community input on. The action plan identifies community priority action items for each community, and we wanted to make sure that we were capturing the action items community members thought were most important for their specific communities. And since the maps were brand new this update, we wanted to ensure that we weren't missing anything on our maps. Next slide, please. Since the CWPP is meant to serve the needs of the community, it's important to have their involvement through entire stages of development of the plan. For 2024, involvement looked like participation from Firewise community members, a community input meeting, which happened at the beginning of January, and an online Google form for members to provide feedback on the plan. Next slide, please. The action items were included in section 7 of the plan. Next slide, please. And there were 6 risk assessment areas identified within the CWPP. Each has its own specific set of action items, and we also included action items for the entirety of Crook County. The 6 risk assessment areas included Juniper Canyon, Powell Butte, Mackay, Paulina, Mowry, and 12 Mile. You can see on the right a map that we developed this year, which identifies those 6 risk assessment areas. Apologies that it is small and probably a little blurry on your end. Next slide, please. The maps were brand new this update. They are an important tool for identifying community risk and coordinating treatment and prevention strategies for agencies working to reduce wildfire risk. Next slide, please. The maps included a wildland urban interface map, a risk assessment areas map, non-federal fire protection agencies, critical infrastructure, land management, fire history, fire treatments, recreation and communities, and flame length. Next slide, please. It's important to have an approved CWPP to have a final integrated plan for Crook County. If this plan is approved by you all today, we will then go and ask for Crook County Fire and Rescue Chief for signature, as well as the Oregon Department of Forestry signature. And that is the presentation. If you have any questions, I think Russ, Commissioner Barnier, would love to speak to them. But other than that, Russ, if there's anything you'd like to add, please feel free to.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners. Russ DeBoot, I'm the fire marshal for Crook County Fire and Rescue. Really just wanted to thank Summers and her team for all the work she put in getting this plan together. These plans are robust. They involve, like she mentioned, I think 16 different agencies. If any of you have ever tried to manage other agencies before, it's difficult with each folks having their own competing priorities and things. And Summers and her team did a great job. So really all I have to add is thank you, Summers, for your effort.
Of course, it was a great process, and it was great being involved with all of the 16 agencies that work within Crook County.
I just wanted to clarify, I talked to Will yesterday, and this has nothing to do with the current state map that's so contentious and making so many people unhappy. I know the answer, but I just wanted to check with you.
Yeah, no, happy to talk about that. Commissioner Crawford, you're absolutely correct. This has nothing to do with 762. The CWPP process was created back in the early 2000s from a federal forest management bill. And the committee was very aware of the fire hazard map that ODF and OSU was working on. And while that has certainly information in it, we made a conscious effort to make sure they weren't overly tied together. Just knowing that in the future, there may be some changes with the 762 map. And then again, really the CWPP is not for any sort of like enforcement and or rulemaking. It's really a accumulation of effort documented in a plan that just kind of highlights what all those agencies are doing. And then allows for areas of opportunity for us to collaborate on things we can collaborate on. So yeah, great question, Commissioner Crawford, but no, they're not connected.
I have a question just on a term. What does flame length mean? I've never heard that term before. I got an idea what it means, but explain the professional answer to me.
Yeah. Well, Commissioner, your probably thought of what it means is spot on. So it is literally the measurement of flame. And flame is has a direct representation of the height of the material that's on fire. And so you can take vegetation type, vegetation height, and density, and you can come up with a predicted flame length. Obviously, bigger flame lengths are more difficult to manage than smaller flame lengths. And so it really just helps us identify where more intense fire is going to happen, not necessarily worse fire, but just more intense fire as far as a flame length standpoint. And that just allows us to then employ different tactics and or management strategies for those particular areas. As you can imagine, a field of cheatgrass is really managed well with a weed whacker. The forest has a little bit different need in terms of managing the fire that's going through there, both good fire and bad fire. And so that's really what we use flame length for. But there's an overview of the county that shows a bunch of different cool colors.
What you would anticipate if there was.
Yeah.
I kind of figured, but thank
Yeah.
you very much, Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a real community involvement and from all the different agencies. And I really do appreciate Summers and Shelby's participation. We couldn't have done it without you. You've been great at facilitating this process. So thank everyone that did it. It was an open process. We had public meetings and public input. And so it was community involvement.
Thank you. So we're entertaining a motion?
We are.
Okay, now I gotta put I gotta get my exact term right here, so I don't flub it. So I would like to approve the 2024 Crook County Community Wildfire Protection Plan as presented.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Crook County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Any discussion? Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Russ.
Thanks, Summers.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Brad. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners and Chair. For the record, I'm Brad Haynes, Crook County Road Department Superintendent. I'm here this morning to get signatures for a real-life build on a 1999 140H road grader. We researched purchasing a new one versus relifing one. Relife will come in considerably less than the new one, so we went ahead and went with the relife, and it was budgeted to do the relife. And I'm looking for signatures to complete this. I've added in the document the Sourcewell contract that we're working off of, which does the services agreement for CAT. Any questions?
No, you have a whole list of things for us today. So
Just a couple.
just a couple. So, anybody have any questions?
No, you have a lot of invoices on this
Yeah.
thing. It would have scared me if I saw that bill come across my desk.
It is pretty intimidating. Yes, it was a lot of work. There's an addenda bill for a circle on it. Circle is what makes the blade rotate around. Some of the drive components were wore on it. They had to be replaced, and that's the addended work order, purchase order for that.
But it's a savings of over $200,000 just to
That-
rebuild versus buying a new.
That
So
is
it's
correct. Yes.
a great way to do it.
Yeah.
So there are 4 items, so I suppose we should start and do each one of them independently.
Okay,
First one, I'd entertain a motion for the invoice, which is also on here for Ochco Manufacturing Corporation for the water truck.
So moved?
I second, sorry.
Motion's been
Oh.
made and seconded to approve invoice for $223,222.84 for a water tank and truck. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Any discussion? I should have said.
no discussion, and I'm still in favor,
Favor.
even without a
Aye.
discussion.
So moved. Pull up the other one. So we have 2 purchase orders for the blade. One was for the circle rebuild and then one was for the total rebuild. So the circle reblade bill invoice is $16,793.24. Entertain a motion.
So moved?
Second?
Any discussion?
No.
Motion's been made and second to approve the circle rebuild. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Peter's a little slow.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So we have another invoice for the rebuild of the blade. All the front to back. And that invoice is $206,430.60. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved?
Second?
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Now, the last thing on it is for a Sourcewell contract. Are there any questions on that?
No, this is just a regular warranty type document.
Yes, that gives us a 5-year warranty on this relife for the vehicle, and it's certified by CAT, and this contract says so in that contract.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the solicitation number RFP 0111723 contract with Sourcewell. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? So moved. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Your other item.
My other item is, I didn't bring it with me for some reason. Is for the DSL lease at Hilltop Mining Site. DSL has recently taken over the mining site up there. It used to be a BLM mining site. Our lease has been expired. So we set up a lease agreement with DSL, Department of State Lands, for this Hilltop mining site. And it's coming with some costing on it. I put that in the packet also, and we just need signatures on that.
Great. Is anybody any questions?
No, looks
And-
pretty straightforward.
Entertain a motion to approve the State of Oregon Department of State Lands lease agreement 41864-UQ.
So moved.
I second it.
It's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, John Eisler, Transportation System Plan Amendment 2.
Commissioners, you probably remember, right before the new year, we signed an extension with parametrics for this through the end of the fiscal year. That extension didn't change the scope at all. And so this one just adds the other layer of scope that we wanted to do to finish up the transportation systems plan. This amendment involves 2 open houses. They're going to be more of a presentation style than a kind of back and forth. One of them is going to be involving the Juniper Canyon options, and one of them is going to be involving the Palo Butte options. It's a pretty simple amendment, just like I said, to wrap up the work they've done so we can finish the TSP.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I made some amendments this last night, and so we don't have a signed contract back from parametrics. And so if you guys want to move forward with this, I'd recommend a motion to sign out of court after parametrics signs.
Yeah, I think we heard a lot from the community that they wanted to have an actual presentation and then have the ability to ask questions. I think the school auditorium would be a good place. And I know we should probably have 2 separate ones. I think we could look at doing maybe timeframes in an evening of like 5 to 6:30, or 4, or 5 to 6:30 and 6:30 to 8, just to split them up. But I think it's important we have it at a centralized location in town and somewhere where it's going to look professional, and nothing against the past ones. It just, at the Juniper Hall and even Pal Butte, there was a lot of people talking over each other, and so I think it's pretty.
I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner Crawford. So the contract in the packet says it names the location, the Palo Butte Community Center for Palo Butte. But the change in here basically says that the open house locations will be selected by the county. And so that's a change in the packet from what you guys have. And so, yeah, we could look at other options, and we can maybe even try to stack them. So if they're like at the high school, we could do them on the same day to try to save some money.
Because, I mean, there's a professional screen in the auditorium. There's a good audio system. I think it'll lend itself to people actually listening to what people are saying instead of talking over each other. So.
I agree. That's great.
And I agree with you, Seth. Yes, and I know Will and I talked yesterday about one presentation, but I do think it needs to be separated because Juniper Canyon has vast different needs than Pal Butte. And those people, I don't think they need to necessarily intersect, not that, So I do agree that it should be two separate meetings and a presentation form. You've got all this information now. Now it's time to get that out to the public in a more, what do I want to say, not organized manner, rather than just chatting and looking at maps. So I totally agree with Seth. So I would go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and do the meetings for the Transportation Systems Plan Amendment 2 and to sign the agreement out of court.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve amendment 2 of personal service contract. And to have the meeting scheduled at a different location and sign out of court.
Yes, which I probably should put that in my motion to determine place of the meeting to be announced. I probably should have put that as an amendment. So will you accept that amendment for me, Seth?
I sure will.
Thank you.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you. Managers report.
Good morning, commissioners. I just have one thing for you this morning. We've had a pretty mild winter so far, but the last couple of days we've had a return of some more normal winter weather. I was driving home through a snow shower last night and had to call Commissioner Crawford because I started thinking about what some of our processes were in terms of emergency closures, et cetera. I appreciate you connecting me with the school district and having me reach out to Brad last night. But this morning I was looking at our employee handbook, the updated handbook that was adopted in 2023. Notes that emergency closures will be made by the county court or its designee. I would like to ask today that you designate me to handle those types of situations as they arise. If you do so, I'll move forward with putting a plan together and a policy to something that department heads and I can work together to implement any sort of necessary emergency closure, temporary closure, as it may arise when we get more severe weather.
As a little point of levity, yesterday, James Prius, the head of facilities, came in my office. Ryan heard this story and he said, I was waiting for a call from you, Susie, to shut down the county. And my question back to him was, do the cows still need to be fed? And he said, yeah. And I said, do I still need to go out and check the water troughs and maybe get the axe out? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, there's your answer. So that was kind of my judgment on that call. But yes, I totally think it would be great to have you designated, Will. But do remember, the cows still need to be fed, okay?
Yeah.
That's the point of the whole thing.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think we put together some type of a text chain or something. So I think it'd be worth looking at where we're at on that, just because when you close it at 5 a.m, you got to be able to get a hold of people. And if you just email their work email, by the time they get to work, then they'll realize that they don't need to be there. So I know that was an issue we had in the past. So I don't know if we ever came up with a perfect solution to that, but
And then we also need to start resurrecting our Facebook page, Sarah, so that we can kind of put that out on social media also for people that are Facebook. Possibly, so text and Facebook would be your more, I guess, immediate type of getting, because this morning I noticed that Paulina and Brothers were on a 2-hour delay, and where did I get that? I got it from Facebook. So
The radio station and television station too, especially the radio station. Excuse me? Radio and the television stations too. On them.
Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, we'll take those into account.
do we need to make any sort of a motion to approve you, Will, or can we just designate Will, or does this have to be more formal, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Since we're all here, why don't we do it formally?
Okay. Okay, Seth, I'll let you make the motion.
I make a motion to designate Will to decide if the county is going to be open or closed or delays, weather related.
Let me.
I can tell he wants to put some big words in there.
Big words.
I'm kind of scared now.
So just to use the language from the handbook refers to bad weather and emergency closure. So I would just note that the county board is, or the Board of Commissioners is designating the county manager to make decisions whether to and to what extent the county will close. That's just language from the handbook.
So moved.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and second, designated will. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Any more on the manager's report?
That's all I have this morning.
Thank you, Will. Commissioners?
I had a good trip to Salem, last couple days. I think we did some really good, had some really good conversations about fair funding. There's a couple options out there. Was able to testify in one, I don't, on the top of my head, have the bill number, but,
I think it's 780.
yes, you're right, 780.
Pretty sure.
And so we had a good conversation. One of our senators, or our Senator Mike McLean, is on that committee. He really backed us up in the meeting. And then the chair of that committee actually saw myself and the other commissioners that were down there testifying, walking around the Senate office building later on, and stopped to say how much he appreciated our comments and really thought that there was some opportunity there. I think they got it. One got bumped to Thursday. There's another one about emergency management dollars, $20 million that could go towards the strengthening of the fairgrounds infrastructure. We're working on that one as well. So I think those went really well. Also, there were back to the maps that I was talking about earlier. And I want to be clear that I do have some property that is in that. So just to show, to talk about, I am personally affected by this. I'm sure everybody up here has some property, but I think it's important to share that with public, that I don't agree with it in general, but I also don't agree with it because I have property in it. So just to share my conflict or whatever that is, Eric. The architect of that bill, who originally came up with 762, he's starting to see the light a little bit. And so that's pretty exciting. John and I have been working on a letter. He put it together last night and I've looked it over. It looks pretty good. I was going to kind of tweak some of the comments or some of the wording in it this afternoon, but I think it would be worth us adopting with a Crook County paragraph, speaking to something more specific about Crook County, because the rest of the letter will be shared with the Association of Oregon Counties and hopefully eventually the Association of Eastern Oregon Counties. And so, but I think it's good for us to put together something that is more specifically Crook County. And I guess I can email it to you, but if you trust John and I to move forward with a letter that's representative of the county, I would appreciate getting it approved now so we can get all of our names on it.
Okay, as far as obviously I agree with you and everything else. So how do I make this motion, Eric? Do I make a motion for that we can sign on? We're gonna share it with Eastern Oregon counties, and that will be a total county signature. And then we want to do like Seth said, a more personal for just Crook County. So can I make a dual? What would be the proper motion to make?
So is there one letter or two?
There'll be two versions of one letter.
Okay, so the
Technically two. I mean, there's going to be one with all the same information and then a blurb at the end that speaks more specifically to Crook County.
So what I guess I would say is it might make sense to have two motions. One to delegate authority to Commissioner Crawford and John Eisler to prepare and sign on behalf of the county a letter regarding statewide wildfire mapping, which would be distributed to AOC. Then if that is okay, we'll make a second motion. It'll be very similar, but it will.
And if you can add besides AOC, also EOC, Eastern Oregon.
EOAC.
or well, okay, EOAC, but yeah. I would like both entities there, so that would be my amendment. And so I so move with that amendment.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve Commissioner Crawford and John Eisler to draft a letter to two different AOC and OCA or whatever it is. And
EOCA,
yeah, EOCA.
I guess.
And to sign out of court. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
And then I would like to make a motion to have Commissioner Crawford and John Eisler craft a personalized letter in our opposition to this from just Crook County and to allow him to sign out of court.
Well, I would have, I mean, I'm happy to be the one person, but I think the one from Crook County, I think we would want all three of us on it.
As however that goes, yes, I will make that amendment that we sign on behalf of Crook County, possibly is a better way to say it.
Right. And then the Eastern EOAC Association have another meeting with the governor that I've talked to her recently next Monday morning. And I will definitely bring up your guys' concerns to her in person, which I've been doing. And I think that's a big part of the reason we have gotten as far as we have, because we are able to get in front of her and not just the agencies. So I'll continue to pursue that at that level. Oh, and then I'll second the motion, Susie motioned.
What was the most? No.
Was the Crook County that on behalf of Crook County that we also send a letter of objection to the state wildfire maps, which was seconded. So
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any,
I think that Seth has said it well, and hopefully we do get fair funding, and hopefully this state wildfire map can be amended. Those are my two wishes for today. So we'll hope they get granted.
yeah, and I want to thank Commissioner Crawford for spending a couple days in Salem and chasing the politics of the job and some of these bills that are pretty devastating to us if they get passed. And we need the support from the fairgrounds.
Perfect.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth.
Well, any public comment? Well, hearing none, this concludes this portion of it. We go into executive session. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we entertained you a little. Okay.
So. Crook County Executive Session Script Legal Consultation. Crook County Board of Commissioners will now meet in executive session under ORS 192.6602H for the purpose of consulting with county counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of public bodies with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to executive session.
Shall be allowed to attend the executive session.
Yeah, okay. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. At the end of executive sessions, we will return to open session and welcome back the audience back into the room. Okay, the Crook County Board of Commissioners will now leave executive session under ORS 192.6602H for the purpose of consulting with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff were allowed to attend the executive session. All the members of the audience were asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media were specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions were made during executive sessions. We will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room.
Commissioners, I recommend a motion for staff to proceed as directed in executive session.
I so move that.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Well, guess that concludes.
Seth, the rest are chair, but those are just for Seth. So if he gets these at the